Greetings duelist and welcome to another video. So today I want to share a very interesting concept that kind of popped into my head quite recently. Um, for the past like 1 or 2 weeks I've been theorizing on something like this, and then I tested it out and I think it's a very solid concept. Um, So the archetype I'm going to be showcasing is Exosister, but as you can see, there are Runick cards here. Um, so I'll be talking about the deck. I'll be talking about the strategy. I'll be talking about like what made me come to the idea for this concept, and like how effective it is. And I'll be showcasing some duels and examples. Um, but yeah, um, as some people already know, Exosisters and Archetype, they debuted in Grand Creators. Um, Outside of one YCS win, which I think it was in Minneapolis, if I'm not mistaken. Feel free to correct me in the comments. This deck has not shown any significant success. Back then, it was a very good meta call because Tier Elements was very popular in the format, and it was also the release of Bestials, as well as other strategies that predicated towards the concept of how it's benefited in this archetype. For the longest time, a really big issue has occurred with the deck, and it's the fact that it was heavily reliant on like Martha resolving. If you did not resolve Martha, or if you didn't have a consistent way of opening your names and establishing your board with your XYZ monsters, you were not getting far ahead in the game. And you were just going to get blown out or like shoveled by other strategies. So in Cyberstorm Access, we're going to receive new support that's going to greatly benefit Exosister, that being Sakitama. And I figured, since this deck might see more play in the future, I wanted to be more familiarized with it, and I wanted to see if there were other like strategies or other like concepts that could be aided with the deck. And I found one. I felt like the Runick cards are here for two main reasons. One, these are all really good non-engine utility cards. So you can use these as cards to like contest your opponent. Like you have backward removal, you have monster negation, you have protection for your monsters, you have ways to dealing with opposing monsters as well, and you have consistency. But at the same time, all these spells that serve as utility can also summon Gary. Gary being a level 4 monster means that you're halfway through towards a summon for an XYZ monster, and all the Exosisters XYZs are generic. So I felt like having a really efficient way of summoning an extender that can also benefit towards a mean for your Exosister monsters was very ideal. The number one thing that got me interested was the synergy between Runick Fountain and Exosister Martha. For those who don't know, Exosister Martha can tag herself into an Exosister XYZ if a card is moved from either player's graveyard. Runick Fountain giving you the avenue to like move cards from the graveyard, as well as Gary having the ability of recovering Fountain from the graveyard means that Exosister Martha will trigger and then become an utility XYZ, generating you more pluses. Please be wary of the fact that if you do use Exosister Martha's hand summon effect, you are locked into Exosisters for the entire turn, so you cannot summon Gary. But yeah, that was pretty much the concept, and that was pretty much the idea with the deck. And yeah, let's go towards the list. For the Exosister monsters, I'm playing 3 Martha, 3 Ellis, 1 Irene, 2 Sophia, 2 Stella. Many Exosister builds play 3 Stella. The reason I'm not playing as many Stella is because I have the Runick cards to serve as my extenders, so I don't need many names to serve as extenders in the deck. We're still playing the 1 Irene because we are playing Vadis, which means you want a name to be summoned with, you want a pair to be summoned with Vadis outside of just Martha and Ellis, or Stella and Ellis. You're maxing out on Ellis. Ellis is like the best extender in Exosister. That's pretty much a no-brainer. I was tempted to play 3 copies of Sophia, but I'm playing 1. I'm playing 2, which is a standard number. You notice that there's no prosperity in this build, which is like a staple for like Exosister lists. The fact that we're playing Runics means that we don't need a card for consistencies such as prosperity, since it will conflict with the drawing effect, which means that Sophia is more ideal in this build because you are pretty much generating more pluses. But that's it for the Exo monsters. One other monster that I'm testing out is Zoroa, the Magistress of Flame. I like Zoroa because it's a monster that does not conflict with Martha. It does not conflict with your Runic cards. It's another low for body. The monster itself becomes a +1 if you resolve both its effects. So it essentially kind of becomes like a +2 in that sense. And that's the whole idea of this game. You want to generate as much advantage with many different cards, since you're playing an engine that skips your battle phase. So you want to overwhelm your opponent with your resources. So I just felt like Zoroa was another good monster to fill on that slot. This could be changed. I think when the spirit monsters come out, this will probably be replaced by those. Since the spirit monsters have more innate synergy and can facilitate your XYZ summons even quicker. For the Exosister cards, we're playing the 1 Arment, 3 Pax, 2 Returnia, and 1 Vadis. In the past, people were reluctant on playing Arment. I think Arment is really solid. I think this card has like a very beneficial like position in the deck. Just having the ability to tag any of your names and plussing out of their effects is really good. The thing I really like about this card is it can also help dodge removal or dodge other cards your opponent does. Take note, this card can only be used on your opponent's turn. I almost made a mistake with that, like in one of the duels, but yeah, that's kind of it for Arment. Pax is the best card in the deck. Like I think this is the best card for almost any archetype. Like it can grab any card. It can also special summon monsters. Like it's a quick play spell. Sadly, can only be used on the main phase, but you know, if it can be used on the main phase, I think the card would have been way too good. But yeah, that's it for that. Returnia is banishing removal, and it's easy to XYZ summon in this deck. Like by conventional means, which means this card can provide extra removal. The fact that you can tag into XYCs using this paired up with Vadis is also really good. Yeah, really solid card. Take note, you can only activate it if all the monsters on the board are Exosisters, so it can conflict with Runick cards if you don't play it properly. But I don't think this is too much of an issue. Only one Vadis. Again, this deck is really consistent at getting to your XYCs, so you shouldn't have an issue like having more cards that generates more bodies on the board. This is just a card you can search with Michaelis if it needs to be. But yeah, that's it for the Exosister cards. For Runics, I only play in Destruction, Curses, Tip, Flashing, and one Slumber. You can make the argument that this is not enough Runic spells, but again, my main goal is not to plus and combo with the Runic cards as heavily as possible. I only need to open like at least one name to like extend, but I also playing these specific ones because these are the best utility ones, like to be playing with. So yeah, that's it for that. Like other non-engine, I guess is Evenly and Talents. Evenly is kind of risky because you do lose your battle phase a lot. So it can conflict with your Runic cards, but I just felt like it's a really powerful card this format, and like if you play your phases properly, you should be able to like have enough opportunities to play this. If you go first, that means that you don't need this card, which means that you are pretty much already ahead in the game because you're using your other monsters. This can be anything, but I just felt like Evenly Matched was a good one. Same with Talents. This can be any other card. I thought about Ash Blossom, I thought about Droll, I thought about Shift at one point, but Kashtira is still very popular in the format, so it's not Shifter's time yet. But yeah, XYCs, the extra deck, I guess. To Gary, to Hugin, I feel like this is a good enough ratio. You don't need any of the other Runics. You strictly need Gary because it's level 4, and Hugin just adding Fountain if you open multiple copies of different Runic spells is really good, and also she's basically protection for your cards. So if they try to blow you out, stuff like Lightning Storm, etc., you can just summon Hugin and just prevent it. I'm playing Zoroa and Magistus as well as Nirnararu. These can also be replaced, but since you're playing Zoroa, these cards are just other pieces or another ways of utility outside of just your Exosisters. But yeah, these can be anything else. I just felt like just having utility with the Magistus cards was really good. It gives you more options, it gives you like more variety, and it makes the deck not look as linear. Like for example, there in testing it came up that people can play Iron Wall, so just having Zoroa become like an out to Iron Wall, since you cannot activate Runic Destruction after that card resolves, is really good. For the XYCs, Asofio, Jibrin, Caspitel, Michaelis, and Magnifica. I want to play through Michaelis, we just don't have the room. I mean, again, you can make the room just cutting the Magister stuff or cutting on other cards. But I feel like all these cards were necessary at their appropriate ratios. I like to Magnifica. Magnifica has come up multiple times. Caspitel is pretty much one of your go-to cards. Out of one specific combo that the deck has. Jibrin and Asofio is just utility, pretty much anti-graveyard and anti-field cards. But yeah, I'm gonna be showing one particular combo that the deck has, and then like go showing like how you amass advantage with the deck and how the strategy works, and then I'll be showcasing some sample duels. So if we go to testing mode, this hand almost works. I guess I'll showcase something significant here. So let us grab Martha. What I'm gonna be doing here is I'm gonna normal Irene, and I'm not gonna be summon the Martha yet. I'll use Irene. Let's see what happens if we draw. Okay, we got an extra Runick spell, so that's very important. Let's put this at the bottom. I'll be showcasing in a second why that's important. For now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna activate Runick Tip. Tip will grab us the fountain. We'll activate the fountain. We'll activate Slumber, and we'll use Slumber's effect to summon a monster. We'll summon the Gary. There goes the grave. Fountain triggers. These goes to the bottom of the deck. We draw 2 cards. And we overlay for Michaelis or Caspitel. It really depends. We'll just do Caspitel here since we drew Armament. We detach. Let's grab Ellis. And then we special Ellis and we have Armament. This is just a simple hand, just showcasing the fact that any Runick spell plus any Exosister monster starts your engine. This hand is a lot more different. This hand will be showcasing exactly the purpose of this deck. So we're going to tip for Fountain. We're gonna summon Martha. We're gonna summon the Fountain. And yes, this is a 3-card combo, but you have multiple cards that searches these cards. And if you end up resolving this, it becomes very, very significant. So now we activate Destruction's effect. We use it to summon Gary. Fountain will trigger, and you'll put these 2 back. Again, you normal summoned Martha, you didn't use the hand effect, so you're not locked into Exosisters yet. We drew 2 cards, and because cards moved from the graveyard, from Fountain, Martha triggers. So now Martha can tag herself into an XYC. We're going to summon Caspitel. We're now going to use Caspitel's summon effect. It's mandatory. Now you can special from the graveyard. Now we're going to do the other effect. We're going to detach. And with Caspitel, we're going to grab Ellis. Now Ellis summons, because you control an Exosister. You overlay these 2 for Michaelis. And then you trigger from Michaelis. In this case, you detach Ellis instead of the Gary. It really doesn't matter here. You can grab Pax. You can grab Vadis. You can grab Returnia. Since we have Returnia in hand, we grab Vadis. I'm going to show you what would have happened if any of these 3 cards was another Runick spell. If any of these cards was another Runick spell, what you could end up doing is grabbing Pax. So after that, you overlay these two. You go into Magnifica. And this is pretty much your end board. So Magnifica is technically two interruptions because you can tag herself into either Caspital or Michaelis, and have removal that way, and you also have her removal effect, and you also have Returnia. Returnia making it so you can banish a card, and if you do tag out with Magnifica this turn, then Returnia can banish another card. So that's from technically 4 disruptions out of these 2 cards. But take note, if we had any other runic spell, what you could end up doing is you set packs, and then with packs you summon Martha from the deck. And what's gonna end up happening is you summon Martha. Let's pretend this evenly matched was like any other runic spell. Let's grab Freezing Curses for example. So if you have another runic spell, what you can end up doing is you'll activate the runic spell. This triggers, which means Fountain triggers. Fountain puts this back on the bottom of the deck. We draw, and that means Martha can tag herself out, and then Martha can become an interruption on your opponent's turn by the means of either Gibrine, Michaelis, Asophiel, like any of the names. That's pairing it up with alongside the other disruptions. But yeah, that's pretty much the concept like behind the deck. It's very very hard to play. There is a lot of room for error. Remember, you do have a few Xenolocks, but like a lot of hands make this possible. Like worst case scenario, you just resolve Martha and you play the deck as a normal Exosister deck and just use the runic cards as like interruptions or other means. In the best case scenario, you pretty much just use your runic cards as extenders, just to summon other names in the off chance your other cards don't pan out. Like for example, you can normal Zoroa, Zoroa can special Irene, Irene can tag out the Armament, and now we have 2 runic spells. So now we have Fountain plus like accessibility through Martha. We have packs in hand, so packs can summon Martha, and that pretty much becomes the full combo again. But yeah, that's the concept. Now I'm gonna be showcasing some duels. So this duel was against Kashtira. I lost the die roll. He went first, and as you can see, my hand is packs plus a bunch of runic cards. Let's see what happens. Just by having packs in the runic stuff, that means that the win condition of the deck, at least the ideology of the deck, can already be fulfilled. So I drew evenly for turn, obviously. I'm going to pause here. Even if we didn't have evenly, like this hand was enough to contest against this board, because you have Flashing Fire to get rid of the Arise Heart, you have Destruction for the back row, you have Tip to grab you another name, you have packs to in order to grab Martha. Let's see what I end up doing here. I Flashing Fire, try to destroy the Arise Heart. The Arise Heart banished itself. Smart move, makes it so I don't have runic spells engraved. I pay the cost. I grab Martha. I have not summoned anything this turn. I try to Ash, name Martha. Since I locked into Exosisters, because I activated Martha and he ashed, I sadly cannot do the the Fountain play this turn. I mean, technically I can do the Fountain play, but I cannot summon Gary. Let's see what I end up doing. I grab the Fountain. I activated Fountain and I passed. So this doesn't look like a lot, right? Martha plus 2 sets doesn't look like a lot. But take note, you have Interruption by Returnia, you have the Runic Destruction, the Fountain will trigger returning 2 spells, which means you get 2 draws. The Martha triggers because of the Fountain, meaning that you can summon Michaelis, and that turns into another interruption. But yeah, so I just returned. I drew for turn. I drew Pax. Pax into Sophia. Sophia summon. I draw a card. I activate Michaelis. Michaelis grabs Vadis. I said Vadis, and I had to skip battle phase because it's Runick. He drew Ash. I detached with Michaelis. I got Arment. Arment is for the next turn. I summon Zoroa. Zoroa effect. I grab with Zoroa. Zoroa summons Martha, and he scoops. Yeah, I was slowly gaining a lot of advantage. He goes first again. He has Ash, multiple Ash in hand again, which is kinda disheartening. But he now tries to go for the zone lock combo instead of like a Rise Heart pass. See, as you can see, he mind hackers. I end up losing a few cards. I only lost 2 Runic spells, which is not that bad. I lost a Hugin, which doesn't matter. Gary is the main playmaker of the deck, not the other ones. And I drew evenly again. Kind of unfortunate for him. Kind of unfortunate for this entire duel, but yeah. I Rise Heart triggers. I grab Tip for freezing curses. I curses in chain, so he doesn't grab anything back. He chains to that. I go Pax for Martha. I haven't summoned anything, so Martha effect. I get Ashed again. They Fenrir my Stella. I set 2, and yeah, I lost that game. Now game 3. I go Martha, no Ash this time. So pretty much this is the full Exosister combo, at least like the normal one. So Michaelis grabs from Eternia. I go into Magnifica, and now I grab Tip for Fountain, and I set 2 and pass. He terraformings, I tip, I grab Destruction just to make sure I'm ready for Raid Sauce. I tried to do Fountain. I Fountain 2 names, draw 2 cards. He activates Pressure Planet, and I drew into Draw. He has the Gamma, which is both good and not good. He summons Unicorn, I Returnia. He activates Birth, I summon Michaelis to make sure that I don't get interrupted. And then he summons Unicorn, and I did Michaelis, and he's forced to pass turn. He had the enemy controller. I don't know if he didn't want to use it, but you know, he could have enemy controller my Michaelis and made Zeus afterwards. I wasn't too worried about the Birth like staying on board. I had Destruction for next turn. You could make the argument that I could have Destruction the Birth and prevented the Unicorn summon and just have Michaelis as an interruption for something else. But I figured that if I get to the next turn, this will net me another draw out of Fountain, which will trigger Martha if I summon it with Pax, and that would essentially just become like a lot of advantage. Here's another game. This was against Branded. I don't remember a lot what happened this game, but I went first and I opened double evenly, which is a bit unfortunate. I summon Sophia, draw, summon Michaelis with Ellis, I grab, and Magnifica pass. Foolish Burial, he activates Strategy, he goes to Adlib, he summons Cartesia. I immediately contested with Magnifica because Magnifica does not target, meaning that if he decides to fusion summon with the Cartesia, it doesn't matter what he summons, I'll banish it anyway. That being said, he lets it go through. He goes and activates opening. He sends Adlib, summons Saluber. Aluber grabs Branded Fusion. He activates Branded Fusion. I tag out immediately in response to the Branded Fusion because I don't know what he's trying to send as material, but I want this Returnia to be live in case I end up getting into an issue where Dragoon could be an option. That being said, I tagged out. He uses Lubellion as a material for Albion. He activates Albion's effect, and I chain Returnia. Since Michaelis was XYZ summoned this turn, that means Returnia can banish multiple cards. Like he's also activating Branded in red, which will prompt me to activate the Michaelis. I go here explaining that Returnia doesn't target and that banishing Albion is a potential option. He summons the Despia. I end up banishing something else. He attacks with the Despia, he attacks with the Lubellion, and I evenly matched. That's another really cool thing about this deck. Even though you have multiple layers of interruptions, you're not committing too much to the board, which means you won't lose to evenly matched, and in the off chance that they do break your board, you do end up also being able to evenly match them. That being said, I draw for turn, I draw tactics, he expulsions. He summons Mud Dragon, which was a really smart play. Turning Mud Dragon into a light attribute means that I cannot armament my monsters. It also means that I cannot use them for like my Runick cards either. So this was a very heads up play from them. They call that attribute. I end the battle phase. I banish the cold buy, which is sad because it means I cannot use Michaelis this turn or the next turn. I max into Martha. I summon Martha. I activate Thrust. Thrust for Returnia. I summon Caspitel. Caspitel grabs Sophia. The reason I do this play in particular is because I want to see if I can draw into a Runick spell, because any Runick spell draw means that I can amass a lot of advantage next turn. I draw into Armament, I try to activate it, I forget that it's on my opponent's turn. And I also cannot legally activate Armament anyway because he turned this into a light attribute. My opponent draws, I immediately Armament. The reason I do this is because he has Tragedy engraved, which means he can grab any of these branded spell and traps. Also, I want to have as much value for us possible for Returnia. I had the potential option to make a Sophiel here, but you'll see what happens. I turn it into Jabreen. He tries to Mud Dragon, calling Dark, and since I XYZ summon this turn, I can Returnia, banish the Tragedy, which means I can non-target banish the Mud Dragon, and that means my Jabreen can answer to the Aluber. I don't think there's another Despia name he can add with Tragedy that can benefit them, so I figured this was like the best play. He grabs Aluber, he summons, I Jabreen, negate, I draw, I Caspital activate, grab Martha, I use Jabreen's effect, everybody gains 800, at least all XYZ monsters, and this is OTK because Magnifica can attack twice and it gains 800, and she can banish the Aluber, and yeah, that's game. We go to game 2. He goes Lubellion into Saronir. I draw. He sets impermanent pass. He goes opening, grabs a Looper for the next turn. That's a good play from him because he has Saronier from a courier. But it's also a risky play because any normal summon Exosister kind of contests with that strategy. That being said, I go Destruction to destroy to pop the last set. This hand is almost a brick, pretty much. I'm reliant on like my Runick cards at this point. He grabs red. He attacks. I grab Freezing Curses. I pass. He goes Saronier. Yep. Yeah. So I pretty much lost this duel because, like, as good as my cards are, I pretty much opened no Exosister. And that's like one of the biggest weaknesses of the deck. If you don't open any Exosister names, then that kind of happens. But you play a lot of names, so that realistically shouldn't happen a lot. So this hand was perfect because I opened Martha, Fountain, and a Runick spell. And this is the combo I showcased earlier. Pretty much what's gonna happen here is after this summon resolves, Fountain will shuffle these two back. We'll put these two back into the deck. I'll draw two cards. Martha triggers, summoning Caspitel, and I grab with Caspitel. He has Nibiru, which is a problem. But yeah, let's see what happens. I grab Freezing Curses. I Fountain, put these back, draw two cards. Martha summons, Caspitel, Ellis. I summon with Ellis. Michaelis grabs. I grab Pax. And I turn them into Magnifica. Before I end the turn, he goes to make Nib. That's fine and not fine. It's fine because it means I can talent his hand. It's not fine because Returnia is set. And I completely forgot that for a Returnia to activate, you can only control Exosisters. So this Nib token is kind of an issue for me. That being said, I return the Foolish Burial. He deployments, I Pax in Chain. I summon Martha, he summons Cartesia, he goes Grand Wignol, he activates Albaz, I activate Returnia. I'm reminded that I had the Nib token, so I cannot trigger that. I Freezing Curses instead. I think Freezing Curses here is the best play because I don't want Albaz to resolve, and even if he activates Cartesia, that means he won't be able to summon with the Albaz. So, Fountain triggers, returns Curses, Martha triggers because Fountain got drawn, and now he summons Cartesia. He activates Cartesia. I'm not sure exactly why he activated Cartesia there, but that's going to be beneficial for me because I summon Jabrin. He activates Albion, I Jabrin try to negate, he goes to battle phase, he tries to nib, I Runick Destruction to summon Hugin, which makes it so I protect the Jabrin. And I drew Martha and for turn, and I activate Freezing Curses, which means that Fountain will trigger. I return the Runick spells, I draw two cards, Martha triggers, summons Michaelis, and I win the duel. But yeah, going back to the deck, closing thoughts. This is by no means a final build. This is by no means like the best build of this deck, but I feel like it's a really very interesting concept. It can be very explored upon, and with more cards that are going to benefit Exosisters in the future, this might be a cool avenue to explore with the deck. I hope you enjoyed this video. Keep practicing and keep dueling.